In my 40-plus years on the bench, I've learned something that still surprises people. The truth is, the courtroom is not loud because of anger. It's loud because of fear. Fear of losing money, fear of losing freedom, fear of finally being seen for who you really are. And some days, the fear walks in wearing a $3,000 jacket and thinks it can buy silence. If you've ever wondered what happens when a rich kid tests the wrong judge, tell me this right now. Are you the kind of person who believes money should never beat justice? That morning was a Tuesday, January 14th, and my clerk slid a folder onto my bench like it weighed 100 pounds. Case number 24 CR 11709, Providence Municipal Court, Courtroom 3B. The air smelled like old paper, cheap coffee, and winter coats still holding the cold. The charge looked simple on the surface. Reckless operation, leaving the scene, property damage. But I've seen enough folders to know. When an officer writes that many words, there's a story underneath. The defendant's name was Cole Van Buren, 22 years old, address listed as a waterfront condo off India Point. His attorney was already there, one of those polished guys with perfect hair and a watch that looks like it could pay off your mortgage. Then Cole walked in. I don't judge a person by clothing, but I do notice details, because details tell the truth when mouths lie. Cole's shoes were white Balenciagas, spotless, like he never stepped on a real sidewalk. He had a black Louis Vuitton belt with the logo shining like it wanted attention, a gray cashmere coat, Burberry, I could tell by the lining. Under it, a tight designer shirt that looked ironed by someone else, and on his wrist, a gold Rolex Submariner, the kind of watch that quietly screams, "I don't wait for anyone." He didn't sit like other people. He leaned back like the courtroom belonged to him, like my bench was a stage and he was just waiting for his applause. The officer on the case stood near the aisle. Officer Daniel Rourke, badge 3117. He had that tired, steady face of someone who has seen too many late nights. His report said the incident happened at 10:47 p.m. on December 28th, right near Atwells Avenue, not far from the old brick buildings and the late-night restaurants. A second name was in the folder, too. The victim. Not a person Cole hit with his hands, but a person he hit with his choices. Marisol Vega, 36 years old, night shift nurse at Rhode Island Hospital, single mother, 2 kids, one of them listed with chronic asthma in the notes, and I didn't need to be a doctor to know what that meant for her life. In the winter, that means panic. That means inhalers in every purse. That means waking up at 2:23 a.m. to check if your child is breathing right. Marisol wasn't dressed fancy. She wore clean jeans, plain sneakers, and a navy jacket that looked like it had been used for years. Her hands were dry, like someone who washes them 100 times a shift. And her eyes, they weren't angry. They were tired. The kind of tired that comes from being needed by everyone and helped by no one. I asked my clerk to call the case. Cole Van Buren. Cole stood slowly, not because he was nervous, because he wanted to show he wasn't. His lawyer started right away. Your Honor, my client is prepared to resolve this matter today. He has no prior convictions. He's a college student. There was no intent. Cole cut him off, just lifted one hand like he was dismissing a waiter. It's not that deep, Cole said. I can pay for whatever got scratched. The courtroom got quiet in a special way, the way it gets when someone says something so careless, the whole room needs a second to swallow it. I looked down at him. Mr. Van Buren, do you understand these charges include leaving the scene of an accident? He shrugged. I didn't even know I hit anything. It was dark. Everybody parks like idiots on that street. Marisol's face tightened. Just a small movement, but I saw it. I've seen that look on good people before. The look that says, I work all night helping strangers live. And this is what I get? Officer Rourke stepped forward. Your Honor, if I may. Go ahead, officer. He opened his notebook. At 10:47 p.m., dispatch received a 911 call from Ms. Vega. She reported a white Lamborghini Urus struck her vehicle, a 2012 Honda CR-V Rhode Island plate KXJ 804, while she was parked and standing near her driver's side door. Marisol nodded softly. I was getting my bag. I just got off my shift, Officer Rourke continued. Ms. Vega stated the SUV clipped her door and spun her, causing her to fall. She reported pain in her left wrist and hip. The Lamborghini continued down Atwell's without stopping. Cole rolled his eyes like the officer was reading a bedtime story he didn't believe in. I leaned forward. Mr. Van Buren, do you own a Lamborghini Urus? He smiled. My dad does. I drive it. That smile bothered me. It wasn't a smile of pride. It was a smile that said, rules don't really apply to me. I asked, did you stop after the collision? He laughed once, just a quick sound. No, because, again, I didn't notice. And even if I did, it's a Honda. Come on. You could feel the heat rise in the room, the kind that comes from unfairness, not from temperature. Marisol spoke for the first time, and her voice was quiet. Your Honor, my wrist. I had to wear a brace. I couldn't pick up my son without pain for a week. Cole made a face like he tasted something bitter. That's not my problem. I sat back and I let that sentence land. I let it sit in the air because sometimes a person should hear their own words echo before they're allowed to take them back. I looked at the paperwork again. Officer, what was the estimated speed? Officer Rourke answered without looking at Cole. Based on witness statement and nearby traffic cam timing, approximately 47 to 52 miles per hour in a posted 25 zone. Cole's lawyer tried to speak again. Your Honor, we're willing to offer restitution immediately. That's when Cole did it. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a thick roll of cash, not a few bills, a roll, like something out of a movie. He held it up and said, loud enough for everyone to hear, "How much is a wrist, Judge? 5 grand, 10? I got it right here." The room made a sound. Not yelling, not crying, just a wave of disgust moving through bodies. Marisol's eyes went shiny. She looked down fast, like she didn't want anyone to see, and I felt something in my chest that reminded me of my father. My father wasn't rich. He didn't have designer anything. He had dignity, and he taught me that dignity is what you have when money is gone. I looked at Cole. Put that away, Cole smirked. Why? Isn't this what court is? You tell me a number, and I write the check. I held my voice steady. This is a court of law, not a luxury store. He leaned forward, still holding the cash. You're acting like I robbed a bank. Officer Rourke said, Sir, you hit a woman and left. Cole snapped his head toward the officer. She's fine. She's standing right there. And you, badge guy, don't talk to me like you're somebody. I could see Officer Rourke's jaw tighten, but he stayed professional. That's what good officers do. They swallow their anger to keep the peace. I asked Marisol, Ms. Vega, what did this cost you? She took a breath. My door doesn't close right. I had to tape it the first night. My insurance deductible is $1,000. I don't have that. And I missed 2 shifts because my wrist, and my supervisor said if I miss again, they'll cut my hours. Cole laughed again. So dramatic. I looked at him and I said, Mr. Van Buren, in this courtroom, you will not treat another human being like they're nothing. He shrugged. Whatever, can we wrap this up? I have a flight tomorrow. I paused, and in that pause, I decided something. Not the sentence yet, not the punishment, something deeper. I decided he was going to learn what he never learned at home. And before I tell you what happened next, I want to dare you. If you believe a person should face consequences no matter how rich they are, stay with me to the end and see if you would have done the same thing I did. I asked the prosecutor for the evidence list. She stood and read it like she was stacking bricks. Traffic camera footage from intersection at Broadway and Atwell's, 2 witness statements, vehicle inspection showing fresh damage to the Lamborghini's front right quarter panel, hospital visit documentation for Ms. Vega, and a recorded statement from the defendant. Cole looked bored. Like this was a boring lecture he had to sit through. I said, let's start with the footage. The clerk rolled the monitor toward the bench. The prosecutor played the clip. It was grainy but clear enough. You could see the white SUV coming fast, too fast, and you could see Marisol's Honda parked at the curb. The SUV drifted, clipped the door, and there was a flash of movement. Marisol stumbling back like a rag doll hit by wind. The SUV didn't slow. It didn't brake. It just kept going like nothing happened. The courtroom stayed silent, the kind of silence that makes you hear your own heartbeat. Cole's lawyer leaned toward him, whispering fast. Cole pulled his mouth into a tight line, annoyed. I looked at Cole. "That's you?" He shrugged again. "Could be. It's a white SUV. Lots of people have white SUVs." Officer Rourke didn't miss a beat. "Your Honor, the Lamborghini's plate was captured. Rhode Island vanity plate, Van Burn." The lawyer closed his eyes for half a second, like he felt pain in his soul. Cole stared at the screen, then said, "Okay, fine, it's me." But she stepped out. "What am I supposed to do? Swerve into oncoming traffic for a nurse?" Marisol flinched like he slapped her. I said calmly, "You don't get to decide someone's worth by their job." Cole laughed under his breath. "I'm not deciding. Life decides." Now the prosecutor added the second layer. "We also have the witness statement of Mr. Harold Bennett, age 68, Navy veteran, who was standing outside Rosa's Tavern when the collision occurred." An older man in the gallery stood slowly. He wore a simple jacket and a veteran cap, the kind with stitched letters, U.S. Navy, 1976-1996. Harold's hand shook a little, but his voice was steady. "I saw her get hit, Judge. She was just trying to go home. That kid was flying, and after it happened, he didn't even look back." Cole muttered, "Old people always exaggerate." Harold's eyes flashed. "Son, I watched friends die in the Gulf. I know what a human body looks like when it hits the ground." That line hit the room hard. Cole's lawyer stood out. "Your Honor, we're prepared to offer $15,000 in restitution today. Immediate payment." Cole threw the cash roll onto the defense table like a mic drop. Bills scattered a little. He said, "There, 15 or 20. Pick a number. This is a waste of my time." I looked at the bills. Then I looked at him. "Pick them up." He blinked. "Excuse me?" "Pick them up." He stared at me like I was the first adult who ever told him no. Slowly, like he was doing something beneath him, he gathered the bills. He said, "You know, Judge, my father donates to a lot of community stuff around here. People like you should be grateful." I said, "My gratitude is not for sale." That's when the prosecutor dropped the third layer and you could feel the air change. "Your Honor, we also have the defendant's recorded statement to Officer Rourke. At 1:12 a.m. on December 29th, he stated, quote, 'I didn't stop because I didn't want to deal with it. If I stop, I have to talk to poor people. That's what insurance is for.'" End quote. A few people in the room gasped. One woman whispered, "Oh my God." Cole's cheeks flushed. "That's out of context." Officer Rourke said, "It's audio, sir." Cole snapped, "You probably edited it. Cops do that." I held up my hand. "Enough." Then, the fourth layer, the one that didn't come from the prosecutor. It came from my clerk. She leaned close and whispered something into my ear, her voice tight. She slid a printed sheet toward me. It wasn't part of the case file. It was something she found because younger clerks live on the internet the way my generation lived on newspapers. I looked at it and my stomach went cold. It was a screenshot. Instagram story. Time-stamped 11:03 p.m., December 28th. Cole's account name was there, Cole v. Billionaire, blue check mark. The photo showed the inside of the Lamborghini, speedometer visible, 61 miles per hour, his hand on the wheel, a diamond ring on his finger. The caption said, "Atwell's Ave is my runway. Move, peasants." And there was another story right after it, a short video. You could hear music. He was laughing, and a voice in the background said, "Bro, you smoked something." Cole's voice said, "It was just some broke nurse. Who cares?" That line made the room go still in a way I can't explain. It wasn't just anger, it was heartbreak, like everyone suddenly remembered a time they were treated like they didn't matter. Marisol's lips parted and she whispered, "He said that?" Her eyes filled. She didn't cry loud. She cried quietly, like a person who refuses to make a scene even when she's been humiliated. I turned the page and saw another screenshot. Snapchat. A photo of a wad of cash. Text over it. "Court gonna be easy tomorrow. Judges love green." Cole looked up and saw the paper in my hand. His confidence flickered, just for a second. I leaned forward. Mr. Van Buren, is this your social media? He tried to laugh it off. And it's a joke. People post jokes. I said, it's only a joke when you're not the one getting hit. Cole tilted his head, eyes sharp now. You're making this personal because you're, what, offended? Look at you, Judge. You work for the city. You probably never even sat in a Lamborghini. There it was, the class insult. He said it like he was proud. You're just mad because you're not in my world. I felt the room wait for my response like a held breath. And I'll tell you something honest. I've been insulted before. I've had people curse at me. I've had people blame me for their bad choices. But that line, it wasn't aimed at me. It was aimed at every person who ever worked hard and still struggled, every parent who skipped meals so their kids could eat, every nurse like Marisol, every veteran like Harold. Cole didn't just disrespect a judge, he disrespected the idea that all people deserve respect. Now here's what you don't know yet, and this is where the story turns. Because that Instagram post, it didn't just make people angry, it alerted someone else. And if you're thinking, okay, but how much worse can it get? Stay with me because what happened next didn't just change the case, and it changed Cole's whole life. I called for a short recess, 10 minutes, that's all. When we came back, the courtroom doors opened again, and I saw two people walk in who didn't belong in municipal traffic court. One was a man in a suit with a plain tie and a badge clipped inside his jacket. The other was a woman carrying a folder so thick it looked like it could stop a bullet. The bailiff leaned toward me and whispered, "Federal agent wants to speak to the court." That's when Cole sat up straight. The agent approached. "Your Honor, Special Agent Renee Klein, FBI, Providence Field Office." The room made another sound, a quiet stir, like everyone suddenly realized this wasn't just about a nurse's wrist anymore. Cole's lawyer stood quickly. "Your Honor, what is this?" Agent Klein looked at Cole like she'd been waiting for him. "Mr. Van Buren, we've been monitoring a series of illegal street racing events connected to an online group. Your public Instagram story from December 28th matched time and location of a hit and run tied to that group." Cole swallowed. Agent Klein continued, calm and deadly. "Your Lamborghini was also captured near a warehouse off Allens Avenue at 2:23 a.m. on December 29th. The warehouse is currently under federal investigation. We have reason to believe those races are used to move narcotics and launder money through betting pools." Cole's mouth opened. No words came out. The prosecutor's eyes widened. Even she didn't expect that. Agent Klein added, "We are preparing a federal complaint. This court's matter is separate, but the defendant's conduct today is relevant to his risk of flight." Cole's lawyer finally found his voice. "Your Honor, my client is a student." Agent Klein didn't even look at him. "Your client is a participant, and his social media presence is evidence." Then the last authority figure walked in. A tall, older man with silver hair, wearing a dark coat that looked expensive but not flashy. He carried himself like someone used to walking into rooms and owning them without saying a word. Cole went pale. "Dad, Mr. Van Buren, the father, the power behind the money." He didn't look at me first. He looked at his son, and his face wasn't angry in a loud way. It was disgusted. He said quietly, "You embarrass this family." Cole tried to talk fast. "Dad, it's nothing. They're blowing it up. I can fix it." His father's voice got colder. "You threw cash at a judge. You mocked a nurse. You posted it online like it was entertainment." Cole's eyes darted around. "It was a joke." His father stepped closer. "You are not a joke, Cole. You are a problem." Then he turned to me. "Your Honor, I won't insult this court by asking for favors. My son needs consequences, real ones." That's the moment Cole realized his money wasn't a shield anymore. Because when the people who taught you wealth stop protecting you, the world hits different. Cole's voice cracked. "Dad, please." I looked at him and I saw it, not sorrow, not empathy, fear. Fear of losing the life he thought was guaranteed. I asked Agent Klein, "Is he free to leave this courtroom today?" She said, "Your Honor, not without acknowledging the risk. Federal detention may be requested within 48 hours. 48 hours. I looked at Cole. "Mr. Van Buren, you came in here thinking you could buy your way out. You treated a working mother like she was trash." Marisol wiped her face and looked up. Her eyes were steady now. hurt but steady. I said, "This court is going to sentence you for what happened on Atwell's Avenue. The federal government will handle what happened after." Cole finally spoke like a human being. "Judge, please, I didn't mean it." I asked him, Did you mean the Instagram caption?" He didn't answer. I asked, "Did you mean the Snapchat message about judges loving green?" His shoulders sank. I asked, "Did you mean what you said about not wanting to deal with poor people?" He whispered, "I was drunk, I was stupid." I paused, and I let the pause do its work. Then I said, "Drunk is not an excuse. Stupid is not a defense." I sentenced him. For reckless operation and leaving the scene, I imposed the maximum allowed in my courtroom. I ordered a 180-day license suspension. I ordered restitution in the exact amount of Marisol's deductible plus repair estimates, $3,142.17, due within 10 days, not a penny late. I ordered a fine. And then I added the part he didn't expect. 200 hours of community service, not at some charity gala where he can take photos. 200 hours at Rhode Island Hospital, nights only, in the patient transport unit, pushing beds, cleaning wheelchairs, helping people who can't stand up on their own, and he would report directly to Marisol Vega's supervisor for scheduling. Cole's head jerked up. "What? No, I said, "That's justice." He shook his head, panic rising. "I can pay more. I'll pay 50 grand. 100, just don't make me do that." I looked at him and said, "You don't need another bill. You need a mirror." And then I did one more thing. I ordered his phone surrendered to his attorney for preservation because those posts weren't just shameful, they were evidence. Cole's lawyer's hands trembled as he nodded. "Yes, Your Honor." Cole's voice turned small. "Please, I can't be there. People will see me." I leaned forward. "You mean poor people will see you?" He swallowed hard. "Judge, I'm sorry." I said, "You're sorry now because you're afraid, but Ms. Vega was afraid at 10:47 p.m. when she hit the ground and watched your taillights disappear. And if you've made it this far, you're part of something special. Stick with me, because the next part is where the real lesson hits, and I want everyone who believes in fairness to stay together on this one." 2 days later, Thursday, January 16th, I got a call from the court administrator at 8:05 a.m. She said, "Judge, you're not going to believe this. Cole Van Buren is back. He's downstairs." I asked, "Why?" She said, "He's begging to change the sentence." I walked into the courtroom that morning and the room felt different, like the building itself knew something had shifted. Cole walked in wearing no Burberry coat, no flashy belt. His hair wasn't perfect. His eyes were red. He looked like he hadn't slept. He stood before me and his voice was not confident anymore. It was thin. "Your Honor, please, I can't do the hospital." I said, "Why not?" He swallowed. Because the FBI came to my place yesterday. They took my laptop. They took my phone records. They asked about the warehouse. They asked about people I know." He looked down, like the floor was the only thing that wouldn't judge him. He whispered, "My dad froze my accounts. All of them. He said if I want to act like a man, I can live like one." Now the cash roll was gone. Now the Rolex was gone. Now the Lamborghini was gone. 48 hours. That's all it took. Cole looked up, and for the first time he looked at me like I was a person, not an obstacle. "I don't have money," he said. "I don't even have a car. I'm scared." I listened. Not because I felt sorry for him, but because part of my job is to hear people when they finally tell the truth. I said, "Mr. Van Buren, fear can be a teacher, but only if you let it change you." He nodded fast. "I will. I swear. Just don't make me do nights at the hospital." I asked, "Have you met anyone who works nights at the hospital?" He blinked. "No." I said, "Then you're going to." He shook his head, tears forming now. "Judge, please." And I'll never forget what Marisol did next. She stood up. She didn't yell. She didn't curse. She spoke like a nurse, calm, direct, like someone who has held a dying person's hand and understands what matters. She said, "Your Honor, I don't want him hurt. I just want him to learn. Because one day someone like him is going to hit someone like me again, unless someone stops it. Her words filled the room with something stronger than anger. Dignity. I looked at Cole. Ms. Vega just gave you mercy you didn't earn. Cole's voice broke. I'm sorry, Ms. Vega. She nodded once. Not forgiveness, not yet. Just acknowledgement. I said, here is my final order. You will complete the hospital service. You will also attend a victim impact panel, and you will write a letter of apology, not to me, but to Ms. Vega's children, explaining why their mother came home hurt that night. Cole wiped his face with his sleeve like a kid. Okay. And then Special Agent Klein stood in the back, watching, not smiling, not angry, just watching, like a reminder that consequences don't end when court ends. Cole looked over his shoulder and saw her, his whole body tensed. He whispered, Am I going to prison? I didn't answer what wasn't mine to answer. I said, That depends on what you did when you thought nobody could touch you. He nodded, shaking. When he left that day, he didn't walk like a king anymore. He walked like a person who finally understood that the world is real and it keeps score. I've seen rich people fall. I've seen poor people rise. I've seen good people get treated unfairly. I've also seen justice land like rain, slow at first, then all at once. And here's the lesson I want you to take with you. Justice is not supposed to feel comfortable. If it feels comfortable, it probably isn't justice. It's probably privilege wearing a robe. In my courtroom, I don't care about your watch, your car, your last name, or your followers. I care about your choices. I care about who you hurt. I care about what you do when you're given power over someone weaker, because that's the real test of character. A nurse who works nights and still shows up with respect, that's strength. A veteran who tells the truth even when his hands shake, that's strength. A young man who thinks money makes him untouchable, that's weakness disguised as wealth. And the truth is, every person is equal when the lights go out and the sirens come on. Every person bleeds the same. Every person prays the same when they're scared. So if this story hit you in the gut the way it hit me, thank you for staying with me. In the next story, I'll tell you about the day a man tried to blame his mother for his crime, and the courtroom turned on him in one sentence. Stay close, because you won't want to miss it.